Today, we're exploring the power of romance stories and whether dreaming about your love life can actually help make it a reality. You all know that friend who's obsessed with romance novels, the person who has a very specific idea about what they want when they fall in love. But is that okay? Is that smart to do? Or does it really limit who you fall in love with? What happens when you've been inspired by countless love stories, but you haven't written your own yet? What if you believe all the things in romance novels can come true, but they haven't come true for you? Welcome to Wedding Hunter Bridesmaid, a podcast where real-life drama meets unfiltered advice. I'm Jen Glantz, the founder of Bridesmaid for Hire and the author of Finally the Bride. Every episode, a new caller will share their honest and raw dilemma on friendship, love, weddings, and so much more. An expert and I will give advice, and you can chime in too with what you think they should do. Will they listen? Well, we'll soon find out. And P.S., Wedding Hunter Bridesmaid is a Love Stories by David's podcast. This episode is brought to you by Jewelers Mutual, the easiest way to insure your jewelry. Get a quote, apply, and protect your jewelry. It's that simple. Learn more at jewelersmutual.com. Joining me today is K.L Walther, the New York Times bestselling author of The Summer of Broken Rules and her newest novel, A First Time for Everything. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you know so much more about weddings than people might think. Number one, you're engaged.
Yes,
and you're getting married so soon.
3 weeks from today.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what has the process been like for you?
It's been a lot of emails and spreadsheets with more fun things sprinkled in, like dress fittings, site visits, picking flowers. But yes, I'm so excited to see all of these emails and spreadsheets and calls turn into this beautiful event.
It's fascinating because people look at weddings and they're like, it's such a glamorous process to plan. You have flowers everywhere. But like exactly what you said is so true. It's a lot of computer work, right?
It's a lot of computer work. And I am on the computer all the time for work. So I will spend all day working and then have dinner. And I'm like, all right, it's back to the computer. But now it's Excel and emails. And so, yes, I'm glad I will only have to plan a wedding once.
Yes. Okay, I have to ask you this because you are an author. Is there pressure around writing your vows?
Yes.
How's that going for you?
So my fiancé, he's a beautiful writer, and I know he's going to go traditional, and his notes to me, like whenever we travel, we will hide a note in each other's suitcase separately. They're so romantic. I know he's going to absolutely nail it. So I want to take a different approach, but do feel pressure to, write this swoony vow. So I do have an angle I'm very excited to write leading up to the wedding.
How did you figure out what to put in the vows? How did you figure out how to structure it? I know a lot of people out there are trying to figure out how to write their vows. They're not writers. They don't know where to start. But just like you, they want to make an impression on that special moment.
I think it's going to be unconventional, so we always like to joke that Chris is a character out of my books. So I'm going to talk about the concept of a book boyfriend because I read YA all through being a teenager into my 20s, and you have all of these swoony love interests who are kind of romanticized versions of men in real life. And I was called picky when I was a teenager. I think I had standards. That's how I like to phrase it. I was also very shy, so that's why I didn't talk to a lot of boys. But Chris has definitely put a lot of book boyfriends to shame. So
well, I love that because I feel like a lot of people will get influences from movies they've watched or TV shows they watch, and you were heavily influenced by the books that you read. So what was it like when you met Chris? How did you feel? Was he like the people you read in books? Like, what was that initial spark? And also, how did you meet him?
So we met on a dating app, which I never expected or dreamed about. My mom and my sister kind of had to have an intervention with me.
No way.
You don't go out a lot. It was kind of post-pandemic, so people weren't really going out to bars. And you need to meet someone. So I did sign up for Hinge, and he was maybe the third person I matched with. And he had just gotten knee surgery, so he was kind of bedridden, and it took a little time, but we couldn't start chatting fast enough. There was so much to talk about. It turns out we went to the same high school. He graduated the spring before I started, And then a few months later, we met in person, and I spotted him before he spotted me. I just knew right away, from like the preppy outfit to the glasses to the blonde hair, which was totally my type. I'm like, that's him.
No way.
And he hugged me hello and scored major points. Our first dinner date, he's like, do you want to share a bunch of things? Which is what my family loves to do.
Yeah.
So he's a dreamboat. And
I love that. I love that you said that, picky, but I do think it is standards. What kind of things did you learn from these books growing up that made you feel like, okay, this is what I want in a person when I get married?
Yeah, I wanted somebody dedicated who knows what they want in life, somebody who wants to see the world, travel, who adores their partner and will always show up for their partner, loyal, and yes, very cute.
Was he intimidated at all? Because I know I have worked in the dating world. I do all this stuff with dating. So when I was dating, guys were like, I'm scared to go out with you because you write about dating, you talk about dating, you're intimidating. Was he intimidated because you have written romance books before and you know love in a different kind of way? Did he look at that like, I have to be perfect, I have to show up? How did he feel?
We've never talked about that, but I don't think so. I did not go out with many guys, but I had always said I was a writer, and that was always like, oh, that's cool, and it would never come up again. They never really wanted to know more. And then Chris, I got COVID before we were supposed to have our third or fourth date, and I was really into him, and I was devastated that I had to cancel. But he totally understood, and he's like, I'm going to still go out to dinner myself. I'm going to bring a book, and I'm just absolutely swooning that this man is going to go out to
He said
dinner.
the word book, too.
Book.
Like, yeah.
And I mean, he is very well read, and I knew what he was reading 2 days prior, so I did not ask what book he was bringing. So we're texting throughout the evening. He sends a picture of his red wine, and we're, bantering. And then I made a joke, and he said, oh, you're so clever. And I said, no, I'm not. That was such a softball joke. And he's like, no, you really are. And then he sends me a picture, and he's reading The Summer of Broken Rules.
Stop.
Yes,
I'm like going to cry.
I squawked. He earned major points. And
That's amazing, because what does that show? It shows that the person's interested in you and also like what you have done in such a cool, clever type of way.
yes.
What did you feel after that moment?
Wooed. I
Yes.
felt really, really wooed, because other people I had gone out with, I did a lot of the instigating. And,
Yeah.
and I think that is important.
Yeah.
But at some point it needed to be reciprocated. He old-fashioned properly wooed me.
I love that. You're somebody who said you didn't go out with many people, you didn't have a lot of dates, you were shy. I was the same way. I've been shy my whole life too. How do you pull for inspiration when you write these romance novels? Because people often think, oh, fiction writers, they pull from their past, they pull from their experience. How do you get your inspiration?
A lot from my sister. My sister is, I call her my goddess divine. She is such a huge inspiration. I think all my female main characters start with a big part of Emily, and then I'll add some me in there. I may also add my cousin, who has gone out with a ton of people, friends. And then the great part is I do consider myself somewhat witty, but I'm sitting in front of my computer and I can sit for 5 minutes and come up with the perfect response that I do not think of in the moment.
Yeah. No, that is so true. I feel like if only someone's like, you're talking to someone in real life, you're like, can you just give me 3 minutes? I want to just sit here and think of the best possible response for you. In your newest book, you write about a bridesmaid. Have you ever been a bridesmaid before?
Yes, I was a bridesmaid in my very best friend's 2022 wedding.
What was that like for you?
I mean, it was lovely. I teared up when she, asked. She had her proposal box, and I had gotten in her car. We were going to dinner. It was dark out. And I just jump in, and she's like, you're going to sit on the box.
Oh, no.
And it's like, spoiler alert. And then, of course, I opened it, and it was just such a thoughtful collection of things. And I was so excited. I mean, I got to see all of these inside moments. I loved the dresses she picked, and it was wonderful to meet friends of hers that I had never really met before. And it was just such a good time, and I look so serious in the wedding photos, because when she and Chris, she's also married to a Chris, we're doing their vows, I'm like, you gotta hold it together. You gotta, because they were so sweet. And
oh my God. Is that what inspired you to say, okay, for my next book, I'm going to have a wedding bridesmaid type of theme to it? Was that experience inspirational?
Yeah, so I could not stop thinking about it. And I was writing this other book at the time, and it was not going well. It was a very half-baked plot, and I had not written much of it. So I clearly was not into it. And I was still thinking about being a bridesmaid, so I wanted to do that. And the Summer of Broken Rules is set during a wedding, but, you know, it's on Martha's Vineyard. It's, you know, over the top, wonderful, but we just get to show up to it because our protagonist is a guest. So if I was going to do another wedding, I wanted to see, you know, the not so glamorous parts, you know, the family dynamics that can clash, the booking and decisions and all of that. And I wanted a more complicated dynamic, so I immediately thought, I'm like, okay, bridesmaid has to be a younger sister, and it has to be a future in-law. It can't be, you know, a beloved older sister.
Yeah, no, I think it's so fascinating because there's so much drama, but also love that can happen when you are a bridesmaid. Even in your own wedding experience now, I mean, what are some of your favorite parts of planning a wedding, or what was some of your favorite parts of being a bridesmaid?
Yeah, with planning a wedding, I loved choosing the bridesmaids' dresses. Yeah. My best friend chose her dresses relatively quickly. She knew what she wanted. And we were all they got married in October. We were all in this beautiful, like, scoop neck, green velvet dress. And I would pull up pictures because I do love this dress so much.
I mean, it sounds beautiful. The color, too.
I wanted different dresses and I thought originally it was like blue and white floral, and I found my sister, my maid of honor, her dress immediately. And then I'm searching and searching, and I'm bored by blue and white floral. So then we pulled some other colors in. So it's blue and white floral, but some pink as well, and flowers. So I think everyone fits their dress perfectly. I think they'll wear them again, they've told me. So I'm just really excited.
Weddings, I think, teach you a lot of different things. What are some of the things you've learned about life or love through the wedding planning process so far?
That I am very decisive.
Did you know that before?
I think, yes, I had a good idea. I rarely second guess myself, and my mom likes to say I go with my gut. But I am decisive. Before really getting into the planning, you know, our phones are listening. So Instagram and TikTok, when I had it, would give me all of these bride talk videos, and just about the stress and the meltdowns, and I don't choose this and I can't choose that, along with, you know, other wonderful things. But because, you know, the venue, I loved this venue. It's perfect for Chris and me. Done. Wow. Flowers. I like white flowers. They're going to be in bloom. Done. Like, I haven't second guessed one thing we've chosen.
How has that helped you planning the wedding?
I feel good about it. I haven't, I have other stress in my life, but the wedding is the one thing I haven't been obsessing over, except in a delightful, I want it to be here already. It hasn't felt like a job.
What's been the hardest part of planning a wedding? It is a tough question.
It is a tough
Totally
question.
A tough question.
I know, I want to phone a friend.
Is there anything unexpected that you felt during the wedding planning process that you didn't necessarily know you were going to feel before?
Again, excited for it to all come together and for it to feel so much like me and my family. I really think people are going to come and think, oh my gosh, this is a Walther family event, even though it's not, you know, one of our famous cookouts at our house. And like, my grandfather has taken up painting in retirement. He's painted all of these beautiful little canvases as like the escort cards.
Oh, so cool.
So there are so many more personal touches that I envisioned before we started.
With the wedding a couple weeks away, what advice do you have for people getting married this year?
Just relax. It's all going to come together, and try to enjoy every second of it. I know an email of, you know, we don't have the microphone. You need to email the DJ to make sure he's bringing the microphone. can get a little exasperating, but I am under the impression that it really is going to come together. And if something does go wrong or not, appear as you think it is, you're also not going to notice. Yeah. And the guests won't notice.
No, they absolutely won't. They're just happy to be there. They're happy to eat the food. They're happy to celebrate you. You're handling it very well. This episode is brought to you by Jewelers Mutual. You said yes, FaceTimed everyone you know, and have taken all the photos to show off your new bling. But then what? Now is the time to think about jewelry insurance. The easiest way to insure your jewelry is with Jewelers Mutual. Get a quote, apply, and protect your jewelry. It's that simple. Learn more at jewelersmutual.com. I want to get into today's caller, who is figuring out if it's okay to write her own love story before meeting the person she falls in love with. Hi, Jen and K.L. My name is Mia from Denver. I'm 22 and I've never been in a serious relationship, but I'm trying really hard to not be so obsessed with romance novels and rom-coms because they really are writing my story for me. I've started doing some things where I feel really crazy because I'm writing about who I want to marry before I even meet that person. I just want to fall in love so badly, and I love the characters in these rom-com books, but I'm starting to think that I'm never going to meet anyone like that or fall in love with anyone like that in my own real life. What advice do you have for somebody who wants to meet someone and fall in love, but doesn't know where to start and wants the romantic ending of all of the rom-com books that I find myself reading? It's a tough question because this person clearly wants to find love. They're addicted to romance novels, which are the best things to read, even if you're single, married, whatever you are. But they're trying to compare their future to what they are reading. When you're thinking of writing characters in your books, where do you start? How do you figure out who these characters are going to be? Do you pull a little bit? You said you pulled a little bit from people in your life, but how do you design the stories of your characters?
Well, it's so funny because before my debut, Maybe Meant to Be, came out, set at a boarding school. I went to boarding school, and it was around my first big high school reunion. And I had dinner with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the book, and she said, I can't wait to decode who everyone is. And I said to her, and I was like, I'm cracking up. You're going to spend a very, very long time doing that because you're not going to find like Scott Andrews in this book. I never take people from real life and just plop them in a book because that would be no fun for me because I would be limited by what decisions I think Scott Andrews would make. Yeah. So I really think about the character and then take pieces of people from real life and thread them into somebody. So like one of my first love interests, Nick, he's very much like, he's noble like my father. He has my godfather's sense of humor. Pieces of my brother are in there. And then there is something about Nick from like the person I wanted to fall in love with someday. Another character, he's, a huge piece of like the kid I had a crush on from like 5th to 8th grade. That was such a long crush.
Yes.
So, I'm getting lost in like thinking
you pull from all these different people. Is it, when you write these books, it's not they meet, they fall in love. There's a lot of in between. There's a lot of almost didn't happens. How do you get your characters into these situations? And also, in real life, like, does it often translate to how people might experiencing things in real life? I think when people read romance novels, they're like, these are so far away from reality. But do you think these are things people also have going on in real life too when they're dating?
I think so, and I think that's a common misconception or a hot topic about romance novels right now, actually. I always want my books to be aspirational. I always want to be able to take one of my books to the beach and it to, line up with like the lovely golden hour beach read. But I also like my characters to be so grounded in real life. I think of What Happens After Midnight, which was it was my third book. It's a second chance romance. The characters had broken up, but are very much still into each other. And she broke up with him because he had been getting close to this other girl with a reputation on campus and just convinced herself that he no longer loved her. He was into this other girl. And that just felt so real to me. I know people that's happened to. So I never want to feel like I'm writing a scenario that no teenager can really relate to.
Yeah, I think in this caller situation too, she wants to find love so bad, and she's using romance novels as kind of like her guidebook to finding love. How does that translate? I mean, what elements from the books you've written do you think people can take as inspiration for helping them find their own love story?
I think you can take qualities from my certain characters, and I don't want to say make a list, of course, but it's just going to help you figure out what you're looking for in somebody. Like I said about my vows, like certain, like Peter Malark from the Hunger Games. Yeah. He was a big book boyfriend for me. A certain character from Lee Bardugo's Grisha series. Again, I was selective, which is obviously a relative term. But Chris does have all of these qualities. So I think, but there were swerves along the way. Like, I don't think you can make like an exact list of what you're looking for and expect to meet that person someday.
I think people forget, like when you read these romance novels, again, it's not they meet, they marry. There's a lot of things in between, and that happens in life. Like, and if you ask anybody,
not even all of that in between is in the book. It's a compressed, like 85,000 words.
Could you imagine if there'd be like 5 books about this whole relationship? I mean, even I'm sure in your relationship, every relationship, there's things that happen. There's almost didn't happen. There's I'm not sure if this is the person. Like, there are those moments. So I think for this caller, it's okay to know what you want, but you also have to be realistic that there might be things that happen that you don't expect, and then you have to decide, okay, is this person still the one? I did exactly what you did. Right before I met my husband, I was struggling with dating. I just thought I was going to be single forever. I made a list of what I would want in a partner, but I also turned inward and made a list about who I am too. Yeah. Because I think when you're dating, especially if you are shy and you don't really, you're not sure who you are, I had to make a list of, here's who you are, Jen. Make sure that you show this to that person, and make sure like they celebrate that, because you don't want to hide these aspects of yourself. So, I think this person is desperately trying to write her own love story, but maybe she also needs to turn inward. I mean, absolutely. You mentioned that you kind of knew who you wanted, but did you know yourself? Did you go through a process of knowing yourself before you started dating?
I don't think so until I met Chris, or when I realized I wanted to meet him. Because I could really tell something was there, and he was this interesting and driven, and being his best self type of person, that I really wanted to be my best self as well. And I have been reassured that from like our first dinner date, I definitely was charming and outgoing, because I am when I get to know somebody. So yes, before I met him, I really wanted to present my best self, because the person I had gone out before, I definitely don't think I was my best self. I was taking cues from him, and I didn't like that.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I was like that too. When I met my husband, I had vowed to myself, when you go on date 1, you be Jen. Do not be anybody else. Don't show him everything up front. I wanted him to know my personality, my humor, my crazy, everything. I do think, especially people, and I totally understand why, people who really want to fall in love will almost become a different character. They almost become the people in the books that they know, okay, this person, like you said, my book boyfriend, maybe they also become the other person in the book who got the book boyfriend. We change ourselves so often, and I think that can be scary too. So even if you have your own love story in mind and you know that you want to fall in love, try to be authentic to who you are, because if not, you're going to start to show up as a different person, and that's probably not going to get you anywhere either. When you're writing your protagonist in the book, usually they are likable characters, right? But they always have a couple elements about them that often get them not in trouble, but often can make the plot line the plot line. Yes. How do you decide what to give that character?
I'm trying to pick one of these ladies.
Yeah. Because they're dynamic, but they're also realistic. All of us have those types of flaws as well.
Well, I think Mads in First Time for Everything, I call her the kindest but most judgmental person I know. So with her brother's fiancé, I don't think she gave her much of a chance at the beginning, and it made a snap judgment. And here we are 5 years later, and they're engaged, and she's a bridesmaid. And she's not not excited, but that kindness is still there, and that, okay, I'm going to try to embrace this. I'm going to play this game because this is my beloved brother and he's marrying her, and I want this to work out. And with her love interests, yes, it's a love triangle. Yeah. I think she's very much trying to figure out what she is looking for and which person or persons. It might be a love pentagon. I've heard different things from different people. So she's figuring out how to present her best self, but also is still making these judgments and assumptions that are getting her in trouble.
Is it a rule in romance novels that it always has to end in love? Do all love stories have to end happy?
It's a happily ever after, but I've also heard, I think the acronym, it's HFN, happy for now. I might have totally gotten that wrong.
Is that like, okay, well, they're with this person, but we don't necessarily know if they get married to this person, but they choose to be with them now?
So with young adult, like all of mine are happily ever afters. But then I know there is this trend where some people will say, like, these young adult couples totally broke up, and then pull up some books and say, they don't say that about Whit and Meredith from My Summer of Broken Rules, but it would be like, Whit and Meredith would never make it, and here's why. Like they're very entertaining.
Because I feel like people try to bring more real life experiences to these books.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like all these romance young adult books, they end sometimes happy, right? But in life, there's not always that happy ending.
Yes.
So what do you think people can take from these romance novels and bring it into their real life?
I think romance novels, they're going to give you ideas to make real life a little easier or help balance with the challenges. So Chris and I, as I've said, we write whenever someone's going on a trip, like we write a note to the person and hide it in a suitcase, or one of us will plan a date for the weekend. And then he always comes home later because I work from home. And so I'll know when he's coming home because he'll text, but then I'll also, I know his location, so I'll check his progress. But I will do the chain lock on our door so that he can't get in. And then he tries to unlock and I'll have to knock, and then I come and greet him. Yeah. I can't remember what book I heard that from, but it's so adorable every single time. So I think scenes from more realistic scenes from romance books, they will help maintain that spark in real life.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I do feel like people, whether they're in an early stage of their relationship or maybe they're married for so many years, are looking for ways to make their relationship more fun. Like these things that you're doing are really fun, and they're almost like little traditions that you have.
Yeah.
What would you say to a person who's never read a romance novel before? Why should they start? What will they get from it? Because it's a huge genre, but I think there's a lot of people who are like, I've never read that before.
So I'm going to specifically say contemporary romance because that is what I do most of the time. They are always aspirational escapes. Like Emily Henry, she is going to take me on a vacation, whether it is, Lake Michigan, a Georgia island, Maine. She's going to take me to a place I've never been or a place I might love when I am, it's raining in San Francisco where I live. And she's going to give me two characters who are going to make me laugh and feel for them, but yet they're still going to struggle with real life problems that I am going to be able to relate to and help me come to a solution for my problem. And with the happily ever after, you're just going to feel so hopeful at the end. And it's a really good feeling to then close the book. I think romance books are so much more than, light and fluffy
Yeah.
afternoon reads.
No, I completely agree with you. I do think that we get a lot of inspiration from them, but also there's something nice about reading a story of everything going right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We find drama in so many different areas of our own lives that sometimes it's nice to read something where you're like, it's going to have a happy ending, and I kind of want that. I want that hopefulness. I just want that. You've written a lot of books. You just became a #1 New York Times bestselling author. Where can people find out more about you and also pick up your books?
So I am a monogamist with Instagram.
Yes.
My handle is at K.L Walther 9, which is my favorite number. And my books, you can find them at any bookstore and online.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
And
coming.
ebook and audio as well.
Yeah, we love audiobooks. Love, love, love. Thank you so much for coming on the show today
Thank
and giving
you
us
for
your
having
advice.
me.
This episode is brought to you by Jewelers Mutual, the easiest way to insure your jewelry. Get a quote, apply, and protect your jewelry. It's that simple. Learn more at jewelersmutual.com. Thank you for listening to 1-800-Bridesmaid, and I hope this caller's story gave you something to think about. Have a wedding dilemma or relationship question? Submit your story on 1-800-Bridesmaid.com. Find more 1-800-Bridesmaid episodes wherever you get your podcasts, and watch the full episodes on YouTube. For behind-the-scenes content and daily advice, follow Bridesmaid for Hire and Love Stories by Davids on Instagram and TikTok. If you enjoyed these stories, check out my book, Finally the Bride by Jen Glantz on Amazon. And remember, sometimes the best advice comes from strangers we meet along the way. Until next time, this is your professional bridesmaid signing off.